Hey everyone! So today we're looking at a fun little exercise called 2 by 2, and we're going to play this piece twice, once at BPM equals 75, and the second time we're going to play with a metronome of 150. And before we go into that, let's talk a little bit about the time signature here. So usually we hear or play music that's in time signature of 4/4, which means you have 4 quarter notes, basically 4 beats in one measure. But for this exercise, the piece is actually in 2/4. That means you have 2 quarter notes. So the top number means how many in a measure, so 2. And the bottom number in the time signature 4 means what type of note gets the beat. So when you see a 4 on the bottom, that means a quarter note, 1/4. So 2 quarter notes in one measure. The next thing we're going to talk about is finger placement a little bit. So most of this piece is on the D string. And the only thing that's a little bit different is basically the first 2 notes in measure 3. That you have the option of playing open A or 4th finger on the D string to get the same A. And I really recommend practicing with the 4th finger because, you know, even though the pinky is really hard, it could be very useful when you start playing more difficult pieces. And it's a lot easier when you don't have to change strings. If you play those 2 notes on the D string with the 4th finger, then you can play the entire thing on the D string. So now let's play a quarter note equals 75, and this is 2 by 2. 1, 2, ready, and. So that was 2 by 2 at 75 beats per minute. And a few things to note, you really want to play those quarter notes, especially at that tempo, to full value. So hold each note out until you hear the next click. And this goes for the very last measure of this piece. Play that first beat to the full value, and then on the second beat, the last note basically is a quarter note rest. So that's when you want to lift. And a little thing about measure 3, that 4th finger that I just played for you, it's easier to reach 4th finger if your elbow is not too far out. We like to call this the chicken wing. We don't want that. We want the elbow close to your body, and that way the 4th finger won't be so much out of reach. One more thing to note is before we play this piece at the new 150 tempo, 150 beats per minute, it's also good to think of this exercise as kind of Lego building blocks. I like to think of it like that. When you're adding fingers on a string, you don't lift your other finger. So if your 4th finger is down, you can keep the 2nd finger down in the previous measure. We don't have to do this for every piece, but it might be useful just to help us get started and practice where our fingers should be when we're in this key. So now let's play the same thing 2 by 2 at quarter note equals 150. 1, 2, ready, and.